be metabolized to EPA and DHA. It should be kept and used. Personally, I recommend it for people with high triglycerides. I think before you go on Lipitor and Pravachol and all the statin drugs, I will definitely recommend that you try, if you have a high triglycerides, that you try fish oil first, at least for 3 months. It is good, which we'll talk about the effect in a second, in heart disease, autoimmune condition, and macular degeneration. You need to be careful when you buy fish oil. The reason you have to be careful, because unfortunately in this country and a lot of countries all over the world, they use the scum of fish, the bad fish, the fish which they're ready to throw away, and they use it to extract the fish oil from it. So you need to worry about, and our water, as you know, unfortunately becoming very contaminated. So you have to be careful with contamination of mercury and lead and cadmium. So when you buy the fish oil, you need to at least, and hopefully they are not lying, they are telling you the truth, that these things have been checked and they are free from heavy metal. And also you have to be careful that they don't contain pesticide, because pesticide, some of these oil are contaminated with pesticide. You need to remember that omega-3 can increase bleeding time, especially fish oil. And then if you have somebody who's on Coumadin, who's on aspirin, or on blood-thinning drugs, you have to be careful, when you're trying to do him a favor, and then his bleeding time will increase. If you use very, very high dose of omega-3, you can cause insulin resistance. So if you're diabetic, your insulin requirement will increase. So you need to remember, if a little bit is good, too much is not necessarily bad. Next slide, please. I need to cover a little bit the gamma-linolenic acid rich oil, the GLA rich oil, and I'm going to cover them also very quickly. Evening primrose oil, EPO, and borage oil, and blackcurrant seed oil. Next slide, please. Evening primrose oil is very, very good oil. It is extracted from the seed of the evening primrose plant. It's called, if I'm pronouncing it correct, Onothera venus, L. Well, I don't know what the L means, but nevertheless, it's a plant which is very common, or flower very common to the North America. The oil is one of the highest in omega-6, about 70%, and it has 10% GLA. Most of the effects are related really to the GLA, which is, I said, about 10% in primrose oil. Borage oil, however, have more GLA, have about 24%. Blackcurrant oil, as I showed you before, have 18%. So for the highest content of oil for GLA is borage oil. Evening primrose have been used for the treatment of skin condition, such eczema and psoriasis, and venous dermatitis. Probably one of the most useful oil to use in eczema is a combination of GLA and zinc. I found this to be very, very effective, especially in chronic eczema. And we used that a lot, when I did general pediatric about 30 years ago. The effective treatment, it's very effective for PMS and mastalgia. And then usually you need about 3 grams per day for a woman who get a lot of tenderness around her menses, in her breast. I find that evening primrose, and people knew that for a long time, that you take it 3 days before, and then 1 day on, and 3 days after the menses, and then usually works better than naproxen or Aleve, or probably or Midol, or any of the other medication. Next slide, please. I'm going to go ahead and cover some of the, if everybody's staying awake or you guys start to go to sleep. I want to cover relatively, because there's a lot of information that I would like to give you, but we don't have the time to give it in more details, some of the therapeutic effect of omega-3 concerning the heart, the blood pressure, the inflammatory diseases, the autoimmune disorder, cancer, diabetes, lipid disorder, and others. I'm going to concentrate. We will not have the time to cover all these entities, but I'm going to try to, I'll go through them quickly, and I will concentrate primarily on cancer and on diabetes. Next slide, please. Arachidonic acid, 24W6, is the precursor of both series 2 prostaglandin and series 4 of leukotrienes, and usually I think most of these compounds, they will flare up any inflammation in the body. The EPA competes, that's from EPA and DHA, will compete with the enzyme that convert AA into these pro-inflammatory agent. And therefore, EPA is the precursor to the series 3 prostaglandin, many of which have a negative effect, against the arachidonic acid, and they will help to combat or neutralize the effect of the bad prostaglandins. Chronic inflammation are difficult to address without increasing the intake of omega-3. As I mentioned to you, one of the major reasons of increased inflammation or autoimmune disorder, probably all over the world, is the increased consumption of omega-6. So you need to balance by increasing your omega-3 intake and then cutting down your omega-6 intake. The use of fish oil, about 3 grams per day for 3 months, in several studies have showed a definite impact on joint tenderness and morning stiffness in patients with rheumatoid arthritis. This is not true if you have osteoarthritis. I'm talking about rheumatoid arthritis. The combination of EPO, evening primrose oil, and flaxseed oil, or EPO and fish oil, should be considered routine in the treatment of any patient with rheumatoid arthritis, including the other of the inflammatory disease, such as the Raynaud syndrome, as the Sjogren syndrome. Next slide, please. The effect of omega-3 on the heart. All of you are aware of the studies which show low rate of coronary heart disease in the Greenland Eskimos, which they consume a diet high, practically swimming in fat, but it mainly, marine fat, including seal, whale, fish, which is very, very high in EPA and DHA. These guys have practically no heart disease. The omega-3 will prevent the heart disease or the cardiovascular problems in several mechanisms. One, it decreases the incidence of arrhythmia. 2, it will be involved in the formation and the competition against various prostaglandin and leukotrienes. And again, remember what I said, these are agents which will cause a lot of inflammation. It has an antithrombotic effect. It keeps the platelet loose, so it will protect you from a stroke. It has a hypolipidemic effect, especially on triglycerides. So it will decrease your triglycerides level. And remember, if you have high triglycerides, before you jump on medication, please try a low-carb diet and 3 grams of fish oil per day. And then it will inhibit atherosclerosis. I am from a school, and I've been from the school for about 30 years, and thank God for the past 5 or 6 years it has been coming around. Everybody accused cholesterol, that cholesterol is the criminal for heart disease and heart attack. And for me, cholesterol is the wrong person at the wrong place at the wrong time. Cholesterol have nothing to do with heart disease. Cholesterol is a dumb guy who was standing at the wrong place. I think the most common cause, and as a matter of fact, all of you know that, 50% of people who die from heart disease, they have normal cholesterol. What is the most important thing in heart disease in this country is C-reactive protein, is inflammation. And inflammation, remember what I told you, inflammation is caused by our diet. Inflammation is caused by high consumption of omega-6 and not enough consumption of omega-3, or consuming both of them with the wrong ratio. But nevertheless, if you have deficiency of omega-3 or wrong ratio of omega-3 to omega-6, what happened to you, your vessels, your arteries and veins, which they are built from omega-3 and omega-6, believe it or not, they become rigid. Not only they become rigid, but they have tears. They have cracks inside. And once they have a crack, guess who comes to protect you? Cholesterol. Cholesterol is the innocent guy, is a good guy. So cholesterol will come to fill the crack in your artery and in your vein to prevent it from leaking. And of course, the more crack you have, and the wider and the bigger the crack will get, the more cholesterol will deposit, and later on we call this one what? Plaque. And then this plaque will become unstable and split someplace and will give you embolism. But nevertheless, cholesterol is not the criminal guy. Cholesterol is like somebody having an accident and you stop by as a good Samaritan to help. And then you come and arrest this guy and say, you're a criminal, you are the cause of the accident. But the cause of the trouble is the hardening of the arteries and veins and the tear of the arteries and the vein. And the reason for the tear of the arteries and vein is because your diet has been screwed up. Next slide, please. Now, let me stop over here. This is some of my love affairs over here because, you know, half of my practice is diabetes in children, and their welfare, you know, is very, very important for me. So I've spent years and years and time, and I talk to practically every diabetic who come and see me about the importance of essential fatty acid and diabetes. Now, there is a lot of metabolic derangement in diabetes. I don't have to tell you that. All of you guys know that. But among the many metabolic derangement in diabetes, you remember the enzyme I told you about, delta-6 desaturase? This is impaired. And when this guy is impaired without this enzyme, there will be more unsaturated fatty acid in the omega-6, which cannot be synthesized and is believed to be one of the leading causes of diabetic neuropathy. So one of the major reasons for diabetic neuropathy is the impairment of the delta-6 desaturase. And then this will lead to an increased accumulation of what? Of arachidonic acid, the one I mentioned to you. And this will cause more what? More inflammation. Now, the addition of GLA, whether you get it from borage oil or you get it from evening primrose oil, to the diet can stop and even reverse diabetic neuropathy by speeding up the nerve conduction velocity, and then you probably need about 4 to 5 grams of evening primrose oil, which is equivalent to about 320 milligrams of gamma-linolenic acid, GLA. Now, the use, these are some articles that I collected for you from different places. The use of GLA-rich oil, along with EPA and DHA, that's a combination of 3 and 6, has been used for diabetic retinopathy, believed to be a complication of both reduced omega-6 metabolite as well as a deficiency in omega-3 fatty acid. I have a lady who is diabetic for about 25 years. She is the wife of a physician friend of mine. She does not take good care of herself. Her hemoglobin A1C in the range of 9 to 10% most of the time. She doesn't take care of herself. When she goes to see, and until now, 25 years after diabetes, she has no kidney disease and she has no retinopathy. When she goes and see the eye doctor, the guy called me, said, what are you doing to this woman? I said, I'm not doing anything to her. He said, I don't believe that this woman with this lousy, poor diabetic control, she still has no single microaneurysm in her eyes. You know what the secret is? She takes about 6 grams of omega-3 and omega-6 every day. That's where the secret is. There is no question that omega-3 and omega-6 with the right combination is a very potent protector against retinopathy. Now, macular degeneration is the most common cause of blindness in this country. All of you know that. And there is a lot of data to show that if you consume, especially omega-3, that you can decrease considerably the rate of macular degeneration. By the way, all what the Norwegian studies have showed, all what you need is to eat fish only 1 time a week. So if you eat fish every day a week, you don't have any better protection. So that's why we recommend that you eat fish. We recommend for our people ask me about my diabetic kids. He said, what I'm going to eat? I said, I don't know what you're going to eat. I don't, like I see, diabetic kids. One of my, the parent and grandma, one of my diabetic kids, God bless them, they are here. And they probably heard me talking about it because I don't talk about diet very much. Because a lot of people, they will write, I see diabetic who come to see me and he has been writing down what he ate every day for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for snack for the past 10 years. And he wanted me to read all this stuff. I said, are you crazy? I don't have time to read all this stuff. What you need to do, you need to eat probably, and then we'll address this one probably in a second. You need to eat fish probably at least once or twice a week. You need to eat red meat probably once a week.